Hello everyone. In this session, we will look at how we can create, modify, and query for set of tables in a database. In your course, you are also being asked to look for connectivity between Python and SQL. So I have worked out an arrangement where in your Jupyter notebook, which you will get it from any of the Python installation that you might be following. And in case if you are facing issue getting it up and running, please let me know in comment. We'll help you out with a special video, or we can set up an interactive session for the same. But the idea here is we will look at many of commonly used SQL commands for variety of data creation, data manipulation, as well as transactional uh, related statements or commands. To start with, uh, what I have done is to save your as well as mine time. I have actually executed some of these query, and you can refer it in this video and type it as we progress in this session. So the first few things here are primarily about setting up our SQL interface, and the library that you need here is IPython-SQL. Pretty table and SQL Alchemy are the other two that will be used in one or the other way. So we have simply done pip install upgrade for this library. The next two lines are only to kind of clear the output. Then the very next thing that you have to do once this statement is done, the syntax for you will be either a single percent or a double percent. You will use a double percent and a SQL when your line to be executed is on multiple lines, right? And they will start from the next line. When your SQL statement to be executed is in the same line, you will start with a percent sign. And in this particular example, we are loading our SQL package here. And then from our SQLite package in the next statement, we are creating a DB name attendance.db. You can take any name of your choice suitable for the set of use case that you are running across or project that you have in mind. In the next step, after setting up our SQL and other related libraries, we will look at table structure that you want to create and then run through some of the common commands that can help us check the values in those tables as well as the table itself that are available to us in this particular database. So this particular table is taken from your NCERT textbook, right? So the first table is named student. So this is about the attendance subsystem where you are having a student table where the attributes are roll number, yes name, which is name of the student, yes date of birth, which is date of birth of the student, and then unique identifier, that is GU IDs. Now we have put some constant. Roll number is a numeric value that can have maximum of 3 digits. Its data type is int, and this is also a primary key. Yes name, the name of the student cannot be null and up to 20 characters. Date of birth is a type date, it can't be null. and GUID is a numeric up to 12 characters, and this is being used as a foreign key. Keeping this in mind, let us look at how we can create our table. So percent SQL for multi-line execution, right? So this followed by all the statements that you are having, right, in this particular cell will be executed as SQL. Now, what is the syntax that we are using? Create table, right? So this is the common part. Create table followed by the name of the table that you want to use. Here we have used a student, and if not exist will help you not destroy and recreate if this table has already been created. So the syntax that we are following: create table if not exist a student. For your from your exam perspective, if not exist might be looking uh, you know quite complex. So in that case, you can simply use create table a student and then specify. So what we are having, roll number, right? What it is saying about roll number? Roll number should be of type int, and this is also a primary key. How you'll put it here? Roll number, type int, and the constant. So what you are going to follow? The identifier, then its type, and then if there is any constant. That's the structure that we are going to follow, right? So roll number in primary key. Then a student number, varchar up to 20, it shouldn't be null, not null, right? Then date of birth, date, it can be null. There is no constant. GUID, character 12 or varchar 12, and this so since we are using char, because we are fine with alphanumeric, and that will save you memory, and it shouldn't be null, so that's the constant. Then we are actually mentioning a special keys, right? So which are like foreign key is our GUID, and this references another table which is GUID in the Guardian table. So this line is more like when you want to reference. Later on, we'll see ways of, once your table is created, ways of adding primary key or foreign key, right? Then let us look at the second table that is being suggested, that is Guardian, right? Attribute name, GUID, it should be numeric number up to 12, and constant is, this should be a primary key. G name, which is the name of the Guardian, it could be varchar up to 20, it shouldn't be null. 4, right? So numeric value consisting of 10 digit, and this should be null as well as unique, right? Address, variable length, we are starting with up to 30 characters, and the constant is, it shouldn't be null. Come back to our table. How you'll do it? Create table if not exist Guardian. As we already discussed, you can simply write create table Guardian, and then start specifying the identifier GUID of which type, character 12, and any constant. Yes, it is a primary key. G name, it's a varchar up to 30 character, 20 characters, no constant. 4, phone should be unique, right? And address, varchar 30, not null. Okay. Then create table if not exist attendance, right? Let us look at attendance, what it is. For attendance, we are having attribute name as attendance date, which is the date, and it will be having one of the date value, and this is a primary key. Roll number, roll number in this particular case is an int, which is a primary key as well as a foreign key used by a student table. And attendance status, people present, A for absent, which is the character of single digit, and this shouldn't be null. So create table if not exist. As we discussed, you can avoid if not exist. You can simply have create table attendance, then attendance date is of type date, no constant. Roll number of type int, no constant. Attendance status, character 1, not null. Then we are actually having primary key, which is a combination of attendance date and roll number. Because why we are doing this? Because for the same day there could be multiple entries. but a combination of attendance date and a roll number, there will be only one entry. You might ask that what if there are multiple entry for the same roll number for multiple say classes. So then you will be having a primary key which will compose of composite key, attendance date, roll number, and then class, the class number or whatever is identifier that you choose. And what is the foreign key here? Roll number, and this represents roll number in a student. So with this, let us actually, for uniformness, let us keep it not exist, right? We have created the three table. You can execute and you will see actually done for each of these execution, right? Okay, so now our three tables are created. Let us look at now Guardian table, right? And create entries for it. So our Guardian, let us say there are 5 entries, GUID, 4444, Amit Ahuja, G phone, and an address, right? So what you use, if you are actually using all the data in the same order, you can simply say insert into table, right? So what is the table Guardian? Guardian, right? So insert into Guardian values, right? Insert into table name values, and then you actually specify those values in order, right? So all four Amit Ahuja, numbers, blah blah blah. Insert into Guardian, and they second say this is the fourth entry about Danny D'Souza, right? And Danny D'Souza says not having a phone number. So, but we have declared it not null is needed, right? This field can't be null. So that's just to test it. Now you can specify which all field of attribute of Guardian, right? GUID, GNAME, G address, and then you specify values in that order. Of course, this will fail when you will execute. Okay, hold on. In Guardian, phone number is yeah. So it's a primary key, it's not unique, so we can get it done, right? Yeah, so this will work. And then you have other values in a similar way. Enter it. As we said, there are multi-line executions. We'll start with %% SQL, right? So you enter, and this table will be created in your Python database through Python interface. The same command, the command that you are seeing here, is exactly the same SQL command. So if you put shift enter, you'll see all these values getting created. A student table. So what is the structure here? Roll number, a student name, a student date of birth, and GUID. But then GUID is actually kind of primary key, and so how will I do personal SQL insert into a student values? Then actually you keep all the rows. But for this entry, right, roll number, the one that is talking about the third entry, right, Talim Sa. So we tried entering it, but system will not allow it, right? So you'll get error like primary key missing, right? You can see in the lower part. So accordingly, we'll move ahead and have all the appropriate values for the rest of the things. Again, use insert into student values, and your table will be created. So what we saw so far, we talked about general libraries that will be used for Python SQL interface, their installation. Then we talked about importing some of those libraries, then declaring our database, and then from there on, we actually attempted creating three tables with right constraint and right data type. The format for that was create, name of the table, and then in square bracket, you start with attribute name and its type and constraint if any. You end that with a semicolon, then the next table, next table. Once table is done, when you want to enter value in any of these table, the syntax that you follow is insert into table name values, and then you provide the actual values. We are making assumption that all the values are in order. If values are not in order, then when you are specifying the table name in a bracket, you can actually mention the attribute either in right order, and then match with the values, or if they are missing, then accordingly only those values will be provided. Great. Let's look at the final table: attendance date, roll number, and attendance status, right? So say we have got these 10 entries, right? Simply insert into attendance values, and then date, roll number, present, absent, whatever it is, right? So with this, we are done with all these entries. Now what I have done is, we have looked at two commands: table create, insert into tables. Now we'll actually look at some interface. There are certain issues when you try and have select a statement, which is actually we are going to use quite a lot. So I have figured out a way where we can actually get that data uh, in a Python variable, and then print actually it line by line. So that's where you are saying actually for showing table, describing a table, right? So you can just provide the table name. So for example, what you call describe table, right? And then a student, describe table, guardian, describe table, attendance, right? And then here in display table, so actually what we are doing here is, we start with importing the SQL Lite 3, right? That's the package that we are using. Then we declare connection, which is actually connecting to our database that we have created, right? We remember we created before we started having our data set entry here, right? Attendance.db. So the same thing, you will connect to that, and then you get a cursor by calling the cursor on connection. So these three lines are pretty much all the setup that you need. Of course, once you are done, the good practice will be you call cursor.close, connection.close, and so that resources are released. In between, we have defined this utility for showing table, and what it is doing, it is actually looking for pragma table info for that table, and taking the result by calling fetch all, right, on cursor, and then printing the table name, and then from there on it's printing all the results. So let us look at what happens for describe table a student, right? If you want, we can even kind of test it individually, right? So this, and then let's say that we want to actually use describe table a student, right? Okay, so you can see schema of a student, right? Roll number is an int, student number is a varchar, a student date of birth is a date, GUID is a character, right? And then the field that it is actually showing, right? So this is actually the order, right? So it is not inconsequential. So you understood the variable name, its type, and then it is actually talking about uh, constants, right? So the roll number, we had a constant on the name and date of birth. So basically this is representing your primary key, right? And in a similar way the other part. Now the next thing that we are doing is this execute query, right? So you can have any query passed on to it. It simply calls cursor execute, and then it takes all the rows by calling cursor.fetch, and then it simply print them. So we are actually saying execute query, select all from a student, right? Let us call and see. So all the 5 entry that we entered, right? Control V, attendance, right? So the query that you are seeing here is exactly the same, select all from attendance, right? You can modify, you can say that not attendance, but simply you can only say how we have created. So let us look at what describe table. So let us look at describe table, right? And our what is the table name? Guardian, attendance, right? So attendance, Okay, what you got here? Attendance date, roll number. And so if you want to find out, roll number and present, right? So if you want to just say, then you can actually say rather than a star, roll number, you'll get all the roll number. If you want to find out roll number followed by attendance status, right? So you can get all of these 1PA, whatever it is, right? And then you can apply other aggregates on top. So with this, we have come across, and then of course, actually, good idea will be to closing this. So let us do that. Okay. So this is a good, effort where we made ourselves comfortable with creating table, inserting values, querying it, and applying some of the query like select all. We'll stop here, and when we meet again, we'll actually either build on top of this created table, or we'll create some additional table and look at the common exam questions and how to write SQL query for that. That is going to be very, very exciting, because that's going to be useful for your day to day usage in general terms, as well as your viva voce, you might be asked for SQL queries in your exam itself. If you want to score high marks, SQL queries are something, you get perfect marks if you write it correctly. So we'll luckily do many of those practices, and then we'll move on to the other topics on from your class 12 syllabus, as well as we'll actually solve a couple of previous year question paper. Thanks guys. If you like this video, subscribe my channel and like it. Do comment if you want to cover some topics in